The first thing we're going to do tonight, as a form of icebreaker, before we go into the formalities of today's book launch, is that I'd just like you to say, just to 50%, judge me, because it was not as smooth as the young lady there, but we take it. Please, can you give yourselves a round of applause? We are looking forward to a truly enjoyable evening. Yes, we're here for serious business, but it is an evening in Lagos State, and sometimes things can get really serious. So we can actually address key issues in society whilst having a good time. And so that's what we hope to give you tonight. Once again, you're most welcome to the Nigeria Solidarity Support Fund WeNaija book launch. And I have the singular privilege and honor to be holding in my hands, the book would be launching. Let me not show you the front page yet, because we haven't launched yet. But this is the book, and this is a collection of short stories, poems, flash fiction, and essays that envision a healthier Nigeria, speaking exactly to the vision of the Nigeria Solidarity Support Fund, which is a healthier Nigeria. Now, one of the reasons I also did that at the beginning was quite intentional. We want you to never forget the NSSF. So even in your sleep tonight, you are saying, Nigeria Solidarity Support Fund, Nigeria Solidarity Support Fund. That is the aim. But tonight, we're doing something really special. It started on the 1st of November 2022 when we launched the WeNaija Literary Contest. And this was taking it to young people across Nigeria to submit works in the categories I've just mentioned. One of the winning prizes for this competition is a night like this, where the contestants who've come forward in each category get to see their works published and get to see us launch it very big, in a very big way. And so I'd like to really congratulate everyone who's come this far. It wasn't easy. Out of hundreds of entries that we received, they came out tops. And so tonight, as we honor them and have critical conversations around health, particularly post-COVID in Nigeria, it's important that we also remember to honor those for whom we have essentially gathered here tonight for. As I proceed, I'd like to just honor some people in the room. Every single person here is really, we're really delighted that you've taken time out. We have quite a variety of people in the room from different backgrounds and sectors. And so we thank you, because we believe that you coming here tonight will make the conversation richer. I'd like to start by acknowledging the presence of one of our board members at the NSSF, Mrs. Stella Ojekwe Onyejeli. A round of applause, please. Thank you, ma'am. We will be hearing from her very shortly, but just thank you so much for the work that you do alongside the other distinguished board members for the NSSF. I'd also like to recognize the presence of a member of our advisory board, Mrs. Bola Adeshola. A round of applause, please. Thank you so much, ma'am. Really delighted and honored to have you grace tonight's occasion. I'd also like to recognize, I believe that we have some of our contestants here present. I'd like to honor them. Indeed, they are the stars of tonight. They are the reason why we have gathered here tonight, aside, of course, having critical conversations around health, but because of their submissions and how exceptional they were, amongst hundreds of submissions, we have thought it's important to launch their book as a collection, and many of us, if not all of us, would go home with a piece of them, because indeed your writing is like your brainchild. So we're going home tonight with a piece of the next few people I'll be mentioning. I believe we have Hadiza Abdul Karim in the room. Hadiza. We'll get to meet them a bit, more. We'll get to meet them and get to know them better in the course of tonight's celebrations. I'd also like to recognize one of the finalists, or the winners, Olumide Ojo Emmanuel. Oh, there we go. Thank you so much. Already leading from the front. Congratulations. Also, we have here Ajibola Mikhail. Thank you. We have some other contestants who are unable to make it here tonight, but we hope that some of them are watching via our channels that we've provided. I'd also like to recognize, I won't mention their names yet because they have a very special, dedicated section to themselves to truly honor them, because they played a key role in tonight's meeting. Whilst the contest was going on, we utilized the experience and expertise to ensure that we had a fair hearing or perhaps judging process for all the contestants who participated. So please, I wouldn't mention, like I mentioned yet, their names, but please help me honor all the panel of judges or members of the panel of judges present here. A round of applause, please, for them. In a few minutes, we'll get to know them even more. And of course, I'd like to welcome every single guest seated here. Can you celebrate yourselves and give yourselves a round of applause? Thank you for joining us tonight. We promise to keep this short, sharp, and sweet. We hope that you engage with us as we would be going into a panel conversation later on. And very importantly, that you support us very massively. As you've come here physically, we hope that you leave here as well with your financial substance at the end of the evening. To give us a formal welcome on behalf of the NSSF, I'd like to invite on stage a member of the advisory board of the Nigeria Solidarity Support Fund, Mrs. Bola Adeshola. A round of applause, please.
Thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And I believe others will be joining us. Just as was said, the traffic in Lagos is such that these things are unpredictable. Although I do observe that there are more women in the room than there are men, but I'm sure this will be balanced later on. But please permit me to take this opportunity to welcome you all and to extend a further word of welcome to everyone gathered here this evening and online, because this is a hybrid event. So thank you for dialing in to those who are in the comfort of their homes and offices. This event, which launches a compilation of a new generation of exceptionally talented young Nigerians, is certainly a moment we should all savor and enjoy. If you look back at the last 2 years, I'm sure you'll all agree that the NSSF is making steady strides in collaboratively trying to create a better future for Nigerians. It all started as a vision, as most successful ventures do. The Nigeria Solidarity Support Fund was primarily established to supplement efforts to mitigate the adverse economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on Nigerians. The NSSF has also promoted its mission of transforming health outcomes in Nigeria through the support of impactful initiatives that provide critical intervention in the areas of universal health access to all citizens in the long term. These initiatives build the competence of healthcare workers and create opportunities for economic empowerment for Nigerian youth. So it's a priority for the Nigeria Solidarity Support Fund to see the health sector recover from the assault of the pandemic, even as it pursues efforts to reskill the youth to help jumpstart economic recovery post-COVID-19. We would like to extend our gratitude and thanks to everyone who's played a role in this particular program and have made it possible for the vision to become a reality. Tonight marks this occasion, the WeNaija book launch, a culmination of the hopes of Nigeria's younger generation for a healthier and greater Nigeria. We're building a new narrative of a healthier Nigeria and an approach towards a strengthened economy. Health means wealth, as we all say from time to time. And I thank everyone who has been involved in the rigorous endeavor of making today a reality. We're immensely grateful to all our donors and partner organizations who have worked tirelessly with us on this journey to create the impact needed to solve our healthcare problems. I trust that you will all enjoy the rest of the evening's program. I'm looking forward to it. And thank you for sharing this special event with us. So you're all most welcome once again, and let's all have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you. One more time, please, for Mrs. Bola Adeshola. a member of the advisory board, thank you for welcoming all our guests online and on site to what promises to be a truly enjoyable evening whilst we celebrate the creativity of young people whilst pushing the vision and mission of NSSF. Now, to speak to us a bit further about the WeNaija contest, particularly the literary contest, it's important we have an overview of what's happened from November up until tonight, where we've gathered to, as a climax to the events that have led up to this moment. And to do that, I'd like to invite a member of the board. I talked about her earlier and said that we would be hearing from her very shortly. So I'd like to invite to the podium Mrs. Stella Ojekwe Onyejeli, a member of the board.
Thank you very much. I would like to give my warmest welcome to all of you that have been able to join us this evening. First, let me express my appreciation to the board, the management of NSSF, and all our partners for making this book launch event possible. I also want to thank the talented young Nigerians who participated in the WeNaija campaign and shared their insights and ideas through their writing. Overall, the WeNaija campaign is an ongoing effort to empower and upskill Nigerian youth through various creative outlets. The WeNaija campaign is an effort to reskill and retool the Nigerian workforce through various innovative and creative ideas and outlets. The first edition of this campaign was a photography competition called Visions of Nigeria that empowered young Nigerians to tell stories about how people in Nigeria were dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic through photography. This happened last year. The second edition is this one, a national literary contest called Writing Our Story. We've heard that already. That was aimed at discovering the talent of young Nigerian writers and featured poetry, short stories, non-fiction prose, and flash fiction. I'm to be educated on what is flash fiction. The top 20 entries were compiled into a book that is being launched, this book that is being launched today. The photography competition and this literary contest are just the beginning of our efforts to support and showcase the talent of Nigerian youth. We hope that these campaigns will inspire more young people to pursue their passions and contribute positively to the development of Nigeria. We are committed to continuing this initiative, and we look forward to seeing more inspiring and impactful works from our talented youth. As we move forward, it is important that we continue to support and uplift the voices of our youth. They are the future of our nation. We won't get tired of saying that. They are the future of our nation. And their ideas and perspectives are vital to shaping a better and healthier Nigeria for all of us. I encourage everyone to take the time to read the book once it's launched, engage in the conversations it will spark, and consider the possibilities and necessities it presents. Together, we can work towards creating a brighter future for Nigeria. Thank you for joining us again today, and I wish you all a pleasant evening.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Member of the board, NSSF, Mrs. Stella Ojekwe Onyejeli. Thank you for highlighting right from December 2021 when we had the photo contest. As you rightly said, it was Nigerian young youths telling the story of the realities of Nigeria post-COVID using their lenses. We had a distinguished panel of judges, as we do for the National Literary Contest, and it was just wonderful to see Nigeria through the eyes of young people. And very importantly, for, as she's mentioned, that the youth of Nigeria is the future of the nation. But in very sensitive times, everyone is talking about the elections, and even that proves that the young people are no longer for the future, but the future is now. Because the next leaders or sets of leaders will be determined by young people. Therefore, they're the ones who are well positioned to shape policies that would affect healthcare in Nigeria going forward. And so this competition, tapping into the things that interest young people, is very important. Now, we have a video to show you just to highlight some of the success stories of the photo contest. But before we go there, I'd like to just acknowledge the presence of one of our board members who's here, Mr. Kola Owoduni. A round of applause, please, for him. It's good to have you. Please celebrate our board members. They give their time and resources so generously to the foundation and also to the young people and the healthcare sector in Nigeria. So we really appreciate board members present. I'd also like to mention that please at this point, if your phone isn't on silent, we'd really appreciate it if you either turn it off or perhaps put it on silent mode so that we do not interrupt the proceedings for tonight. Okay, so like I mentioned, we have a short video to show you, and this highlights the success stories from the photo competition, the first in the WeNaija campaign. Now, as Mrs. Ojeko Onyejeli had mentioned, the campaigns are speaking to the priority area 3 of NSSF, which is building the capacity of young people through reskilling and retooling the Nigerian youth for the post-COVID era. And so we use creative ways to ensure that we're building capacity, we're reskilling, and we're retooling. Please enjoy the video for the next few minutes.
2020 came with new rules, and humans all over the world had to adapt to a new normal. Nigerians were not left out. In December 2021, the Nigeria Solidarity Support Fund, NSSF, launched the WeNaija photography contest tagged Visions of Nigeria to engage creative youths to document how Nigerians have been responding to the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic through photography. With over 500 entries submitted, 100 entries were voted as semi-finalists. Today, we catch up with our impressive finalists as they walk us through their journey in the competition and the impact it has had on their craft so far. Their stories are shining examples of hard work and dedication.
Hi, my name is Onoseiza Medile Damisa, and I'm a model, a photographer, a baker, and also a student.
Tubuchukumaike Chukudi, aka DWG, a Street Project Foundation ambassador as the content development leader for advocacy. And I am an independent photojournalist and documentary photographer, and I am one of the winners of the WeNaija photo contest organized by NSSF. It all started during the advocacy boot camp when Mr. Ezenwa called me sitting close to his wife, Ms. Rita, and told me about the competition, that I should check out the IG page, and he wants me to apply. So I was necessarily not applying for competition's sake. I was just applying for the purpose of accountability.
A friend of mine sent me the link, and I was a bit reluctant to put in my entry, but I finally did.
My desire to tell my story on a larger platform, to reach more people beyond Nigeria, that is the world at large, and I felt that the WeNaija photo competition was just the perfect platform for me to do just that. So my expectation level was kind of low at first.
I wished and wanted to be among the top 100. I mean, it was going to be something.
Expectations from the contest was to be the overall winner, even though I emerged as the first runner-up. The inspiration I had for the selection of the picture came from the purpose of the competition, which was how Nigeria were coping due to the post-COVID era. I felt there was a need to do a documentary during the lockdown period. That was during the partial lockdown when businesses were opening, schools were opening. Then I went to different places, marketplaces, public bus stops, schools, to do a photo documentary.
I wanted to take a self-portrait that day, so I took my equipment, which was an iPhone and then a tripod, and then I went to my location I took the picture and I really loved the outcome.
I believe the competition was actually very, very fair. The judges did a wonderful job.
Snapping with Kelechi Amadobi and Tiwa Bello was one of the happiest moments of my life.
The entries submitted were amazing. I saw the works of people. I was like, wow, like Nigeria has a lot of talent, so a lot.
When I went for the exhibition, I saw the images that made the top 100 and I felt like, wow, they must have gone through a very hard time trying to judge these images. And I think this is more than just a photographic competition. It's an upliftment for a lot of Nigerians out there.
Congratulations to all the runners-up and winners of the first WeNaija campaign photography contest. Indeed, like as one of the recipients said, it was more than a photography contest. It was actually an opportunity for them to express themselves and perhaps even tap into skills or advocacy skills that they didn't even know that they had. And very importantly, in the course of delivering their material, to think very clearly as to how to improve the health outcomes for Nigerians and for Nigeria as a whole. At this point, I'd like to recognize our chief launcher for today's event, the latest, shall I say, 70-year-old, at least I believe in this room. I had the privilege of hosting her 70th, so the joy and the privilege of having you here tonight cannot be said enough. So please, can we really honor a woman who has made her mark in the health sector in Nigeria and Africa, Dr. Dere Awoshika. A round of applause, please. We'll be having the privilege of hearing her speak in the course of tonight's celebrations. But for now, we just want to thank you very much, ma'am, for coming, and we look forward to you performing your role as chief launcher. Now, the second video we'll be showing you in the next few minutes is an overview of the National Literary Contest. Just to mention that this was open to young Nigerians within the ages of 15 and 35, both numbers included. The young people had the opportunity to submit their works as either poets in poetry, short stories, non-fiction prose, and thank you very much to our board member for admitting that tonight we'll get to understand flash fiction, because that was one of the categories that was under review, and we had submissions. We had, like I mentioned, such an excellent panel of judges to review the works from over 400 entries. We had over 600 submissions and registrations, I beg your pardon, and that translated to over 400 submissions. So I'm sure you'd understand that the work of the judges were cut out for them. Okay, so we would be seeing the video much later in the course of tonight's meeting, but allow me at this point to recognize these group of men and women that I've talked about again and again because they were quite key to this particular competition. You know, the interesting thing about the competition as well was that even in the build-up to the competition with the campaigns, awareness, social media drive, and media drive, which was quite, quite elaborate, it also gave an opportunity for NSSF to showcase the work that they do and also speak to young Nigerians who perhaps might not enter the competition but have an opportunity to hear about the fact that we're talking about health. So in totality, this was an excellent initiative by the NSSF to drive home some of their main objectives. And so without further ado, I'd like to recognize our panel of judges. First, I have a member of the Order of the Niger, Mrs. Coco Kalango. A round of applause, please. Mrs. Coco Kalango, M.O.N. Thank you so much for the work you put in, and thank you for inspiring the young people. Part of their prizes was also an opportunity to be mentored and to also have a shot at internship with literary minds. Also, we have Dr. Egosa Imasuen as one of our judges. Is he present here? I know they confirmed, even if he's not here, I'll mention all the judges. For some of them who are able to make it, we'll recognize them. And for those who are not here tonight, we'll recognize them in absentia. I'd like to also recognize Mr. Samuel Sage Hassan. Mr. Samuel Sage Hassan. All right, I believe he'll be here with us shortly. We also like to recognize Mr. Samson I. Kugoro. Mr. Samson Kugoro. Please, let's clap. They just might be watching online. And they did such a great work, you know, helping us sift through the many entries that came through. I'd also like to recognize Mr. Babatunde Ajileye. A round of applause, please. And then I'd like to recognize Mr. Tony Khan Onwadi. Mr. Tony Khan Onwadi. Thank you to our panel. Please, let's clap so when we call them again to come and help us, they'll be more than happy to do it for us at NSSF. At this point, we'll be going into the prize presentation. This is the highlight and the moment that our contestants have been waiting for. They have worked hard. They submitted their entries, and out of hundreds, they've emerged winners in their different categories. So this is their moment to shine. This is the reason, or at least one of the primary reasons why we've come here tonight. So please, we want to give them an unforgettable experience so that when we call out their names or present the prizes to them, we really cheer them on and give them the star treatment that they deserve. But to help in the presentation of the award, we have 4 categories in terms of where they emerged winners. One of our winners isn't here tonight, but we will receive the award in their stead. The first category we will be presenting to would be in poetry. And to do the honors of presenting, I'd like to invite a board member, Mr. Woduni, to kindly help us with the presentation of the first set of prizes. The applause tonight is like the traffic in Lagos. It's not moving. Thank you so much. Please, can you stand on the stage so that we can invite? So we have the finalists from the poetry category. Drum roll, please. Hadiza Abdul Karim. A round of applause as she comes to receive her prize. Congratulations, Hadiza. We are proud of you. Our budding poet, literary genius. Literary genius. Congratulations. And of course, now a health advocate. Thank you. So I'll just ask you to please help me to present the next one, if you don't mind. Okay, so I will be announcing very shortly the winner in the short story category. So you bested 127 other Nigerians nationally. This is your moment of glory, so let me really hype you. All right, so in the short stories category, we have a winner out of 71 entries. We actually have the first runner, the second runner-up, the first runner-up, and then the winner. So can we have the picture of the second runner-up, please? Second runner-up, Oluwagbe Misola Akinjobi, and the first runner-up, Miracle Elvis. A round of applause, please, for them. And now, to the winner of the short stories category. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? I know this is a very serious event, but this is their moment of glory. So allow me to hype them up a little so they will never forget this experience. Best in 71 other entries, emerging as #1 across the 6 geopolitical zones. Allow me to hype them of Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations. Yes, excellent. Congratulations, Olumide. Can I borrow you one more time for the final presentation? Okay, thank you so much. Now, the next category is in non-fiction. We had 37 entries in this category. And sometimes this demonstrates to us just how much people were running away from this category. But we had 37 in the non-fiction category. We'll show the second and first runner-up before I announce the winner for this category. Second runner-up. So the second runner-up is Jonathan Ashaye. And yes, please, a round of applause for Jonathan. And the first runner-up is Hajara Mohammed Bashar. And the winner is... Can I get the envelope, please? As in the Oscars. All right, so the winner in this category, again, just coming out tops across Nigeria. I have to emphasize that. It wasn't just a Lagos competition. It wasn't just a Southwest competition. It was a national competition. And the first person in this category is Ajibola Mikhail. Congratulations, Ajibola. Thank you so much, and thank you to our presenter, Mr. Oduni. Thank you for your time, and thank you to all the winners. Congratulations to all the winners. Now, despite the fact that the winner in the flash fiction category isn't here physically, would still like to give them the honor that they deserve. This is streaming live, and so they just might be gathered around a system watching with their family members and friends. So we must also recognize and celebrate them. So do we have the second and first runner-up in the flash fiction category? All right, please, can we show the finalists? The second runner-up is Lovelyn Igwezema. A round of applause, please, for Lovelyn. And the first runner-up is Hawa Mohammed. A round of applause, please, for Hawa. And the grand winner in this category is Abdullahi Yusuf Tella. Congratulations, Abdullahi. Now, we didn't show the second and first runner-up of the poetry category, and would like to just honor them by projecting their names on screen so they get their honorable mention. Yes. Runner-up is Victor Omoyele, and the first runner-up is Chinaza Philomena Nam. A round of applause, please, for them. Thank you all for being so kind and generous with your... It now looks like we're cruising on Third Mainland Bridge. No traffic. The applause is flowing. We love it. Okay, so we thought it was important to give you a taste of the submissions. And so we will be having two readings. The first one to read a piece from the poetry competition. And it's such a delight to have to do this honor. And for Hadiza, please just frame this and record this video. Because the woman who's about to read your piece is a literary icon in Nigeria. She's been honored at... A round of applause, please, as she comes forward. She's also one of the panel of judges. So please really honor her with your applause tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for allowing me to sit down to read. I don't think my doctor will be very happy that I'm here. But I said I must be here, so please pardon me for sitting. I've been asked to read Outborn Wing by Hajara Mohammed Bashir. But before I do so, I just want to thank WeNaija for this initiative. It's very commendable. Thank you for engaging the youth and tapping into their resource and creativity, to come up with ideas and solutions for our health sector. It's really great. Thank you so much. I think they deserve a round of applause. I particularly like this write-up because it's a story of a woman in the maternity ward. And for someone like me who's been on the birth table twice, it really sat with me. So insults from nurses when you react to pain. 3, tell your husband not to take you to a primary health care facility when your labor begins at night. The practicing midwives will take a video of you and post it online. 4, prepare yourself for when the nurses will push their hands into your vagina and squeeze. 5, survive the final stage of labor and have your baby in your arms. Most of my friends who come to visit me told me what they went through with nurses and midwives in the hospital. It was almost like stories you hear in a danfo when stuck in the busy Lagos. I began to prepare myself. I wondered if I will ever let a nurse put her hands into my vagina. For what? That question was soon answered when my husband took me to the general hospital for a checkup, and I was diagnosed with pregnancy-induced hypertension. You cannot leave the hospital, the doctor said. You have to be placed on admission. That was after he had done number 4. His hands in gloves, he pushed his fingers into my vagina and squeezed. A scream was ripped from my throat. According to the doctor, this was a way to check if you had been to give birth. But I was not close. I escaped the second death because I couldn't give birth myself because of high blood pressure. The doctor said my blood pressure could spike in the labor room, and that could pose a risk to me and the babies. Therefore, a cesarean section was highly recommended. After a series of agreements, I had the surgery and had my baby boys in my arms. I thought I had escaped everything with the nurses until the oldest twin, Hassan, was diagnosed with jaundice. The level of bilirubin in him was higher than in his twin brother, and therefore he needed phototherapy treatment. Hassan's admission began the day I was discharged from my ward. We were moved to the neonatal intensive care unit, where we had to have a baby sleeping on his stomach. The door led through a hallway with 4 rooms across it. The doors of the first 2 rooms were labeled outborn, while the last 2 rooms had Mother's Room 1 and Mother's Room 2 on the respective doors. The nurse guided us into Mother's Room 1 and searched for a bed in the ward. There was only 1 bed left, situated in the worst part of the room. It was close to the toilet, which smelled so bad, I had to complain that I would rather I would die before I was discharged. I'm going to skip a bit of this piece and go to the end, because I want you to read it to see what happens. What is this mother's experience when she spends the night in the hospital? How do the nurses treat her? How do the other patients relate to her? Then I'll go towards the end of the story. A few minutes later, the same nurse came to me and said, I was told you refused to breastfeed your baby last night. Who does that? Why would I refuse to breastfeed my sick baby? I explained what happened last night to her, and she said she understood. She calmly pointed out that Hassan needed breast milk more than Hussein, and therefore I should give the formula to Hussein instead. When my husband visited that afternoon, I narrated what happened to him. He shook his head.
Contributions and comments or questions from the audience afterwards is Ifoma Monye, a seasoned strategist, project execution and operations management specialist. Please permit me to read a bit of her profile as she comes up to moderate this session. Ifoma Monye is a seasoned strategist, project execution and operations management specialist with over 20 years experience. She is an expert at guiding organizations and individuals in articulating their visions, building efficient processes and systems to drive optimal performance by providing them with the necessary tools to build sustainable institutions and legacies. I know she cannot wait to take on her role as moderator, so I'll let her do her job and introduce the rest of the panel. I hope you find this conversation insightful and that beyond that, it will get us all to think and furthermore, take action. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to moderate this session. This is a sector that I'm very passionate about, and I'm happy to be able to moderate with some of the key players in the sector. Our first panelist is Dr. Alera Roberts. I read a bit of her profile. Dr. Alera Roberts is a consultant in public health and senior lecturer in maternal and child health at the College of Medicine, University of Lagos. She has worked effortlessly at enhancing rural primary care service delivery and in the development of strategies to improve universal access to quality care for mothers and children under 5 years of age. She has appeared on Nigeria's weekly COVID-19 special updates on Channels Television and uses social media to put pressure on wealthy members of the society to step up and help fund adequate personal protective equipment for healthcare workers. Please welcome Dr. Alera Roberts. We also have Dr. Pamela Ajayi. Dr. Pamela Ajayi obtained her medical degree at Louth and postgraduate training at the British Council of Chevening Scholars at St. Thomas Hospital and King's College Hospital, London. With a vision to provide fast, accurate, and international standard diagnostic tests, Dr. Ajayi started PathCare Nigeria in 2004, the first internationally accredited clinical and medical laboratory in West Africa. A distinguished medical practitioner with a passion for raising the standards of medical practice, she serves as the publicity secretary of the Healthcare Federation of Nigeria and has contributed immensely to the development of the group's objectives. Welcome, Dr. Pamela Ajayi. Also joining us is Dr. Fejiro Chinye-Woko. Dr. Fejiro Chinye-Woko is the GM of Nigeria Solidarity Support Fund. With a proven track record in designing and implementing multi-donor projects from inception to completion, she's ideally placed to oversee the focus on the vaccination program for Nigerians, driven by her passion for healthcare delivery. Welcome, Dr. Fejira. And our last panelist, but certainly not the least, is Dr. Tomi Coker. Dr. Tomi Coker is the Honorable Commissioner of Health at Ogun State and has been leading the state's innovative response to COVID-19 disease. Dr. Coker obtained her medical degree from the prestigious University of Ibadan and her housemanship at the University College Hospital, Ibadan. She was appointed as consultant obstetrician and gynecologist at West Hertfordshire Hospital's NHS Trust in 2003, where she rose to the post of clinical director. She has held roles as the vice chairman of the Royal College of Obstetrics and Gynecology Nigerian Liaison Group. Welcome, Honorable Commissioner Dr. Tomi Coker. Our topic was actually, there was a change in our topic. There was a mistake. We're actually talking about the gaps in accountability and transparency in the healthcare system. As you noticed, the two ladies to my left and my right are doctors, but I'm actually not a doctor. And it's part of my own story and why I'm here. And I'm going to take a leaf from where Dr. Coco Kalango, sorry, I'm calling everyone doctor. I've been mentioning too many doctors. Mrs. Coco Kalango read in the nonfiction. I came into healthcare through my own personal story and my experience. And I came into healthcare without realizing I was trying to write my own story, right the wrongs I had experienced. I've given birth in Nigeria, in the UK, and in the US. I have lost multiple pregnancies. I'd already had 2 horrible experiences in the Nigerian hospitals. One, I was told I had what was called a blighted ovum, and the doctor dismissed me. He didn't explain what a blighted ovum was. I had to go Google it. He told me to go meet his receptionist to book for an evacuation. My second horrible experience was when I had done the evacuation. I was lying down at the doctor's office and some bankers came in and they had a discussion over me while I was at the doctor's office. At that point, I decided I was never going to go to a hospital in Nigeria. Then in 2010, I was 24 weeks and 2 days pregnant, and I was in the UK. Long story short, I go in, I wasn't feeling fine. The nurse I spoke to said, come into the hospital. I went into preterm labor. Immediately, they found out. My clothes were being ripped, all sorts was being put on me, and a nurse came in and says, look, you're 24 weeks. Your baby has a 40% chance of having brain damage. This is what is going to happen. You're going to go to the NICU. We're trying to stop the pregnancy. I lost my son. He was stillborn. At that point, they asked me if I wanted to see him. I said no. So they did fingerprints, did footprints, took photos of him, gave me the blankets they had wrapped him in, and asked me how I wanted him to be buried. 2 years later, I got pregnant again. I was going to go to the US, but just before I went to the US, I went to the doctors to get my notes to travel. The day I got to the hospital, everything was fine. I got the all clear, got my notes, and went home, ready to leave 2 days later for the US. I woke up in the morning, and I felt funny. I knew something was wrong. Immediately, I knew I was going into labor. I rushed back to the hospital, saw the nurse, and I said to her, I'm going into labor. She said, God forbid, go and sit down. And so I did. After a while, I was in pain again. So I went to her and I said, look, I know I'm in labor. She says, go and sit down. At that point, I sat down, I started crying. I called my husband, I called my mom, I called my mother-in-law. I was in so much pain, I started to scream. Another nurse comes, then now decides, okay, let's do an internal check. She did a check and saw I was going into labor. They took me to a room and started screaming for someone to put on the generator. The nurse left. After a while, I knew I was going into labor. So I started screaming for help. No one came. I delivered my daughter. After 5 minutes of screaming, a nurse comes in, and this is a true story. This is what I experienced. A nurse comes in with no shoes, a bar in her hand. Ah, you don't deliver. Ah, your baby don't die. And then walks out. I stayed in that room for a few hours by myself until a doctor came. My husband, my mother-in-law were downstairs. The doctor now puts the baby in a bucket. So tomorrow, I don't know what happened to that baby. And so that's my story. And then for years, I didn't go into a Nigerian hospital, not even a pharmacy. But then I thought to myself, we can't keep having these stories. We need to make a difference. I'm a management consultant. My husband and I are management consultants. So we were like, how can we help? We're not doctors, but we can help hospitals. So for 2 years, pro bono, we went to hospitals and we told them how to do the system. For example, why have an A&E on the second floor? Why put 2 babies in an incubator? These are the things we saw, and that's how we got into healthcare. And now we currently run a 200-bed hospital for the Edo State government. During COVID, we ran an isolation center. And so that is my story and how I'm writing my story. And so ladies, based on that, this is a really important topic, addressing the gaps in accountability and transparency. I will start with you, Dr. Alero. Yes, there are a lot of gaps, but let's start with what would you say is the most immediate concern, or how do we start addressing the issues? There are many, but what would you say is one of the main ones that we should start addressing?
Leadership. In a single word, leadership. I think whether you like it or not, fish only gets rotten from the head downwards, and this pretty much, for me, describes a lot of what... I wish I could say that your story is the exception, but it is most and generally the rule. And anybody who knows my story knows that not quite the same, but coming up against the discrimination, the stigma, the lack of empathy, the misunderstandings, the unintended, how to keep quiet sometimes. And when I think of having to communicate with patients, I'm also the Servicom Nodal Officer for the Lagos University Teaching Hospital. So issues of poor service delivery land on this phone. And I'm sure many people have noticed I'm running in and out all the time. 99% of the times, no exaggeration. All it takes is a gentle answer, and everybody calms down, and we're able to explain the situation. Now, if I am to I won't take any of your stories, they're a bit too painful to think about, but I'm thinking of the story that Mrs. Kalango read out. And all that was needed was a gentle answer from the nurse in the outborn wing. Procedurally, the story was accurate, and procedurally, it's pretty much what we would do in the health space. What was wrong was the communication tactic. That was just totally off-putting. And there really is no excuse of I'm too tired, I've been on duty for too long, I'm the only one. If you know you can't take the heat, you stay out of the kitchen. So I think when we really look at the issues, we will always circle back to that one word, leadership.
Thank you, Dr. Roberts. So, as Dr. Roberts said, Honorable Commissioner, it's leadership. You're in leadership, and you're the Commissioner of Health in Ogun State. My question is, what is Ogun State doing to address these gaps? And is there any system that has been put in place to ensure that the average citizen or resident in Ogun State gets proper health care?
Sorry, just like Mrs. Coco, I made this a priority. You can see that I've got pharyngitis. but it's so important that I came, so I did come. But thank you for that question. I'm an obstetrician of 28 years experience. I left my job in England because I couldn't watch the maternal mortality in Nigeria any further. I wasn't asked to come to Nigeria. I just had this unrest. And so what I've been engaged in is there are three players. There's the leadership, they're the workers, and the citizens. And we all have our roles to play. The leadership, we need to look after our workers, because those workers are human beings. Some of them live in a non-conducive environment. They have to work in a non-conducive environment. They are not given the tools to work. They don't, where I come from in England, well, where I came from, you had continuous professional development. You were taught communication. Even as a clinical director, part of my continuous development was I had to do 5 key things. My communication, every year. Communication, safety, patient safety. That was done on a daily basis. So the structure isn't there yet, but it doesn't mean we can't achieve it. So that's the leadership just in a nutshell. Then the workers. I always said that medicine is a calling. It's not a job. Whether you get paid the right price or you don't. Not using myself as an example, but I've taken a pay cut because of the passion, a huge pay cut. So you have to be passionate before you go into the profession. We run a nursing school, 5 nursing schools in Ogun State. When I got there, the nursing schools, it's who knows who that gets in. I scrapped it. It's by merit. And I would personally go around on the day of the exam to reassure the students that it's not who you know, it's what you know. And when I got the pressures, there were people writing to my governor to say that you brought this foreign woman who's turned the system upside down. You need to turn the system upside down sometimes to make things better. And this is 3 years on. The same people that complained about me the first year, they're very grateful. The parents are reassured that if my child gets the right scores, they'll get in, regardless of who they are. So those are the little things that we can do. Then the patients. As patients, there are things that we can do. The countries that we're making examples of, there is the sustainable finance for the health care. You cannot give what you don't have. We have the NHS because over 90% are in sort of in employment in a structured environment. So they can tax them and then invest that into the healthcare. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, we don't have that. Only about maybe 30% of us are in the formal sector, 70% in the informal sector. So the government does not have a sustainable form of income to sustain the healthcare that we need. We need doctors, we need nurses. The ratio are abysmal. They need to be funded. So there's a law that came out. I'm trying to summarize because I could sit on this topic all evening and no one else will talk, and I don't want that. The one thing I'd like to plead with the public is last year there was a law passed, and the law said that we all must get a health insurance. There's over 200 million of us. If we all pay, whether you use the private or you don't, it's a social insurance. I might pay but never use it. But someone that desperately needs it, like the lady that you read that came with the postpartum hemorrhage, if the hospital, PHC or hospital, had the right equipment, the doctors, the specialists to attend to the light. Someone was talking about generator. All these are things, if we all get the insurance, just make it a point. Most of us, in my state, it's 1,000 naira a month. And that 1,000 would go a long way for a poor woman in a village when she needs it. We are signed up as a country to universal health coverage by 2030. We've only got about 0.5% of us on insurance. So we're way away from the universal health coverage. So what we can purpose as the patients is that we will go out and get our insurance so that there is, sustainable funding. There are many more things, but if I could stop here.
Thank you very much, Dr. Koba. I want to turn to you, Dr. Ajayi. Yeah, she's mentioned three different, the leadership, we've talked about the workers as well as the citizen. I want to say you play various roles in the sector, and from your experience, where would you say we need investment? Yes, we need different investments. So if an investor was here and is looking to where to invest in the sector, where would you say they should start, or can you give a number so that those that are interested know where they can go?
Thank you. That's a very big question, and I don't know really where to start. But talking about transparency and the issue of governance, transparency, accountability are the basis for governance. And in healthcare, there's both corporate and clinical governance. But here we're talking and focusing mainly on clinical governance. And there are many issues within all the different stories that have been, related, that relate to different issues. Sorry. But what I would say is that if we could focus on some of them, if I could just outline a few, there's a huge issue with quality and standards. And that issue on quality and standards actually cuts across a lot of the other smaller ones. For example, your issues on transparency, your issues on, communication. Things like, for example, from my experience, when we set up the PathCare laboratories, we wanted accurate and reliable results, because one of the things is that a lot of people get results and you have no idea whether they're accurate or not. And so going into getting the ISO 15189, which is an international standard, you actually have to achieve a number of things. You have to achieve your systems, processes and procedures, standard operating procedures that everybody has to follow. And if these are properly done, properly carried out, a lot of issues within them, for example, the issue of communication, how things have to be related to the patients, how you have to communicate issues, when things are done, what needs to be done next, who can call specific items, that if there's a crisis, who is called, when they are called, how all of those things can be documented. And so one of the things that we can do, particularly as a country, is to insist, for me, on international standards. And saying, because in most countries, these are a must. You have to, actually have these standards, and you must be assessed every year, and you must be signed up to it. Another aspect of it, because I think I'll just give three, I can't give just one alone, is external. The Care Commission, for example, in the UK, what Alera was talking about, having a place to go and complain, having a place to have those issues resolved is very important. We have our MDCN, but often the procedure and how to get, and even there's a process now in place, but how to access it, how to make sure these things are properly done, and there's a feedback loop. It's not a matter of just saying, oh, I'm complaining about this hospital, but there should be a way of going back to the hospital and engaging the hospital, ensuring there's training, there's development. It's not just a matter of, oh, you've been a bad hospital, shut you down, because we can't even afford to shut down all the hospitals. You shut down the hospitals, where are you going to go? But there should be a mechanism, a feedback loop of development, and a way of checking out to make sure that those things are corrected. But I think if I was going to ask someone to invest today, the biggest thing I would want to ask for is data management systems. Centralized data management would go a long way and would help us leapfrog a lot of issues in the country. Because data management would enable us, number one, to collect data that we need. How are we really doing? Do we actually know? I'm not sure that we know. In fact, I will go so far as to say we don't know. We're just actually hazarding a guess. Do a sample here, do a sample there. You need accurate data. You need clinical trials to show what are those drugs doing. Often clinical trials are done abroad on foreigners. How does it interact with us and our DNA and our genetics? There's just so many aspects of it. I mean, again, like Dr. Coker said, you could spend all day talking about it. But data management systems, centralized data management, so that even when a person has their own information, they can have electronic health records, that when they go from person to person, they can have continuity of care, proper information given. When you go from one provider to another, often, your gynecologist doesn't know what your cardiologist doesn't know, what your diabetologist doesn't know what, so you're getting, bitty treatment, as opposed to getting one consolidated. And if they could have access to those records, I think it would go a long way, not just for the patient, but also for the provider. I think I'd stop here.
Thank you very much. So investment in data management and clinical trials are important ones.
The data management system, clinical trials, quality standards, all of those things are all part of it.
Thank you very much. Dr. Fejiro, yes. Nigerian Solidarity Support Fund. Yes, you were set up to help with the COVID and also to improve the standards. What would you say, since NSSF has started, has been your greatest achievement?
Thank you very much, Ms. Foma. For NSSF, we started in 2020 when we were in the heat of the pandemic, and became really clear that private citizens, we couldn't sit down and watch the government alone tackle COVID pandemic. So Global Citizens and the NSIA, which is Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority, came together to form NSSF. And the purpose for NSSF was to support the Nigerian government to strengthen the health system. We're never really supposed to, on our own, strengthen the health system. I think that that's a huge difference. A lot of NGOs are set up to create additional impact, but we know that the government is the highest funder for health. We know that the government is the highest authority and response person for health, and so we were created to support the government in whatever way we could to strengthen the health system. And since when we started, we have done several interventions, such as why we're here today. But the major one we've done was to support the government for the COVID-19 vaccination. As at 2021, the COVID vaccines came into place, and Nigeria was really lagging behind at that time. We had, by the time NSSF was approached by the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, the NPACD, we were just about 4 million out of the numbers we are that are eligible for vaccinations, that were vaccinated. And so as NSSF, we thought that we are here to support the government, and one way to strengthen the health system was to end the pandemic. And one way we knew to end the pandemic was to get herd immunity for COVID. And so we supported the Nigerian government at that time to end the COVID vaccination. Now, coming out of that, we are looking to support the government to strengthen the leadership for health. And because we have picked that leadership is key for health system strengthening, we could support at the community level, we could support at the health facility level, but we feel that the leadership, everything rises and falls with leadership, and that's why we're here having this robust conversation today and making sure that we come up with advocacies and advocacy tools, and also ideas that we can work with the private sector to collaborate to strengthen the government and the health system of Nigeria.
Thank you, Dr. Fejiro. I'll come back to you, Dr. Alero. So yes, what I want to say, I'll give a success story because we've spoken about some of our experiences. I was happy to read, I don't know how many of us know about a Poco doctor who found out last month he had a brain tumor. And against, like he said, his family and friends' advice to travel abroad for the surgery, he did it in Nigeria. And it was successful by a neurosurgeon when practicing at Luth, but he did it at Lagoon Hospital. So we do have success stories, we do have cases, and I think, I don't know if we were put in that situation if we have done the same thing, but that's a success story. Is there any health system that has been implemented, whether at Luth or anywhere else that you're part of, that you can say, yes, it helped with transparency and accountability?
Yes, there are quite a few, and I think it's very pertinent to, I know the neurosurgeon very well, lovely, amiable gentleman. But I think it's very interesting that he didn't do it in the Lagos University Teaching Hospital and chose to do it in Lagoon Hospital. And it boils down to what you said, Dr. Ajayi, because he knew he had the capacity, he knew he had the competence, but he wanted to be in control of all the other factors, like the generator. Do you understand? The nursing care, because, you know, all too often we get a situation where the surgery was successful and the patient died, you know, because post-op is actually the first 24, 48 hours are the critical times for... The surgeon has turned his back, whipped off his gloves, gone home to a well-deserved rest, and he suddenly, if he's in Lagos, battling traffic through Third Mainland Bridge to rush back to the hospital because 8 to 20 hours later, there's a bleed. That cannot be predicted. But we put, you know, he needed to be in control of everything that he could say, let me mitigate as much as possible, reduce the risk of something going wrong. So the fact that Lagoon Hospital is there, and I can mention it because it's in the public domain space, the fact that Lagoon Hospital is there, they've done what Dr. Ajayi mentioned in terms of clinical and corporate governance. They're meeting international standards, and we must really, you know, spend a bit of time, maybe not in this forum because we can each talk for the rest of the evening, but spend a bit of time in understanding what do we mean when we say international standards. Do we just want to copy the Western world, hook, line, and sinker, fisherman and boat? No. But there is an acceptable minimum standard to which, as human beings, we are called to attain to maintain life and limb. Because whether you are Nigerian, West African, Australian, or Ugandan, if you are left to bleed out, you will die. Bottom line. If your pregnancy-induced hypertension is not properly managed, you will have a fit and you will die. And these are the things that... So we've got a few systems, and there are... Yes, in Lagos, I know of quite a few, but I'm glad to say that I'm hearing of a few more in other parts of the country who have pledged and committed to an international standard because they want, you know, they want to, as Dr. Koka said, you know, they don't want to sit back and not be part of the solution. We can't continue to hear these stories and not be part of the solution. So there are a few. I want a situation where people feel comfortable, because for us to be able to create the demand for these international standards. And in order to create the demand, we also, at the same time, have to take some collective responsibility to making sure that they come to pass. We need to pay our taxes, barest minimum. We need to pay our taxes. We need to buy into this. I was trying to do a bit of arithmetic, but numbers are not my strong. But if 200 million Nigerians paid 1,000 naira a year, not a month, a year, I think that gives us 200 billion every year that can be deployed to the health sector. And for preventive care, I'm a public health physician, so that's my forte. For preventive care, that will do a lot. Certainly, even if the woman chooses to deliver at home, and it is well within her right to do so, in some cultures in Nigeria, that is the accepted practice. We can then get trained midwives to her in the home with mama kits to assist in the delivery so that we meet the cultural acceptability and minimize the clinical dangers. So there are. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. I want to say a very big thank you to all the panelists here for taking time out. Dr. Tomi Coker, thank you for coming even though you're not feeling too fine. Thank you, Dr. Fejiro. Thank you, Dr. Alera. Thank you, Dr. Pamela. Oh, okay, yes. Sorry, with just 2 more minutes. Honorable Commissioner.
Sorry, I think I can't go away with the transparency and accountability. I think it is in the public's right to hold us accountable. You have to. You have to look at the budget. The budget is published on the website every year. We have annual operational plans. Get hold of them that we in health say we're going to do. There's a commissioners forum where you can report whatever you don't like. My number is available in all the health facilities in my state. I get phone calls at 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. to say, I've been waiting 30 minutes, 1 hour, and they haven't answered me in the teaching hospital. It is in the public domain. It is your right as a citizen. But you too, you have to do your own civil responsibility and pay the tax. Please, that is my bane. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Can we give a round of applause to the phenomenal panel discussants and, of course, our excellent moderator for such an insightful session. Thank you for speaking from a personal place and also from a professional space as well. Thank you. Really grateful. Thank you so much. One more time, another round of applause as they take their seats. Thank you. Dr. Fejiro Nwoko, thank you very much. Dr. Alera Roberts, Dr. Pamela Ajayi, Dr. Tomi Coker, and of course our moderator, Mrs. Ifeoma Moye. A round of applause, please. Okay, so we're gradually coming to the end of tonight's book launch. However, this is the moment, well, part of the primary reason why we've gathered here tonight, which is to launch the book, Writing Our Story, a collection of short stories, poems, flash fiction, and essays that envisions a better Nigeria, particularly in the healthcare space. And to launch the book, I'd like to invite at this point the chief launcher, who's also going to be speaking from her vast experience on the topic under review, which is on transparency and accountability for health systems or health system strengthening. Please permit me to give you a little bit of her profile, even though she needs no introduction. Dr. Mrs. Ajori Shedere Awoshika, MFR, MNI, was born in Sapele, Delta State. She's an accomplished administrator with over 3.5 decades of experience in public sector governance. She was a pioneer, national coordinator, chief executive of the National Program on Immunization, director, parastatals in the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation, director in the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs, and rose to the position of permanent secretary in the Federal Civil Service. She has served in the civil service for over 30 years. She joined the board of Access Bank in April 2013 as an independent non-executive director, and currently she serves as the chairman of the board of directors. Now, in terms of her other affiliations, she's a member of the board of advisors of the Africa Initiative for Governance, AIG, advisory council to the Olu of Warri, Council of University of Warri, and member governing body of the Nigerian Prize for Leadership, a fellow of the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria, West Africa, Postgraduate College of Medicine. She is the chairman of International Foundation Against Infectious Disease in Nigeria, IFAN, and served as a non-executive director of Capital Express Assurance Limited and past chairman of CHAMS PLC. A woman who is passionate about developing healthcare in Nigeria. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please make very welcome our chief launcher for today, Dr. Dere Awoshika.
Thank you very much. First, I would like to thank God that we're in this room discussing issues that concerns all of us. And that's where the solution begins from. I want to also thank Mrs. Morango, correct? Morango? Kalanko, that read the story and identified the pains of Nigerians in a non-fiction. It's a true story. Then came the great panel that really opened up issues that will go beyond this room. So I thank the distinguished panel. I want to thank especially the moderator. I don't know where she's sitting. Oh, she's right here. That's where actually the solution begins from. Boldness to speak what we went through. We salute you. A lot of men, a lot of women, a lot of children. We teach our children to say, don't say so, don't say so. We do. So I say all this to say, NSSF, thank you for inviting me. It's a good start and a good way to move us forward. And that is the bane of your topic, transparency and accountability. Until we are transparent in our word, in our work, in our way, and in all that we do, we're not accountable. And accountability is about what you do to me, what I do to you. It's a mutual trust. And transparency is the system through which you do it. Are you chuckling your tongue in speaking, or you are speaking clearly that everyone understands what you're saying? Is your system a poor language? It's a language of deceit, which means it's not transparent? Or it's a language that creates understanding? Anything that anyone says that people don't understand, that person is a deceit. You can't be the only one that understands what you are saying. Am I saying something? Yes. That's accountability and transparency. So, it's good we have a book that has begun to tell the story. How many of the books did you print? Pardon? 100. I'm sure we will print more so that our children can read and learn. Mothers can read. Fathers can read. Every one of us can say no to the things that happen to you, Mrs. Moye, and to others that have written the book. I hope their names are there in the book. I mean, that's accountability. Telling the story so that others don't go that way. And Dr. Koka, you are coming from abroad. I'm sure when you got, they baptized you very well in Ogun State, but you've done a good job. And I always say, and it's the truth, very true, and I'm being honest before God and man, all Nigerians are responsible for not receiving transparency and accountability. We don't speak. I hear that it's only for the young ones, Sorosuke. Well, we all have to speak out so that people can hear us and understand us. So please take it beyond the youth. Take it everywhere. So transparency basically is mutual trust. And whether in practice, whether in administration, because I practice in hospital, and I enjoyed my practice in the military setting. Why? Because it's a disciplined environment with accountability to the patient and accountability for yourself. So you respect They trust you because trust is part of love. And so they can ask you what they don't understand, what you have explained, what you went through. And that is a breakdown in communication. That's why Dr. Coker said, I do communication every year. Because not everyone knows how to communicate best. What you have learned in the professional setting, now within the practice setting, which involves another person. So we need to work together to speak out, and professionals have to be accountable for their jobs, and that accountability requires transparency, that they see that everything you are doing is in their interest. Whether you are a house officer, an intern, a laboratory technologist. I just divert a bit. I was very inquisitive as a practicing pharmacist, and when I look, we had a very good teamwork at the military hospital. So when they prescribe antibiotic and the patient is not responding, I'm wondering what is wrong. It was not much of fake drugs then. Or take a good example, oxytocin, when you give somebody, it's supposed to contract, and it's not. So obviously, you know it's a fake drug. But for the antibiotics, so I colluded with the obstetrician, don't send the urine, send water and Fanta. We got the results for urine. Staff, plus, this, plus. So we called the clinical meeting, and we revealed what we did to everyone. That stopped it. Just a technician who wanted to just quickly finish the work. Plus, after all, is a broad spectrum antibiotic they will give you. Anyone that is inside this, it will. Forgetting that there can be also the negative. It may not be positive. Yeah, so that's what it is. We are all harming one another. I will stop there and say that we've had a good evening, a great food for thought, a good move from this room. As NSSF partners, I hope we'll commit ourselves to ensuring that we get the book, we give the book to someone, we sell the book to institutions, we give them, prepare them as your Easter present. Easter will soon come, January is off, and we're getting near. And more than that, tell somebody it's time for us to change health, the health sector, for your sake and for my sake. It's time for us to do and put in our best, whether we are health workers or we are recipients. We are all, health workers also do receive health interventions. So we are all in this thing together. But I'll be looking forward to NSSF fighting the battle for insurance so that health financing becomes a major thing that we can deal with in order to have better health systems. And I would, with all great pleasure, the book. Putting forward this evening, writing our story. Our stories have been told by Mrs. Moye and the distinguished panel tonight. And I'm sure each one of us have a bad story to tell. Each one of us. I lost my own brother in Lagoon Hospital, and I stood against it for a good reason. But, you know, you get corrected. Corrections go on. We can't have a perfect situation, even in the UK. But let's have a situation where we are writing our stories for more than 80 to 90% of our population. And we will save a lot of money in Nigeria instead of going out there. I'm guilty too. I went to a dentist recently, very lovely dentist, very capable, shoops or somewhere. My daughter convinced me. And I wanted to do my denture. I said, no, I don't do dental in Nigeria. She said, just give it a try. So it's just beyond the medical practice all through, including dental, including orthopedic, everything. And she did a good job on me. She asked me why. I said, during the HIV, I saw where there was a transmission via dental error. We must avoid these errors. And I became afraid because you know that, Dr. Roberts, you know that in the medical, we cover a lot of things for ourselves. Then, when we write the story, covering will stop. That's why medical practice in America is difficult, because everyone is being careful not to be sued. Maybe extreme, but we need a bit of that here. But first, the story must be understood, must be told. We must write the right stories, and we hope that from this room, writing our story will begin with you and I. I will give my token contribution to launching this with all pleasure. I will give it with all my heart, with love to the future, beginning from tonight to you. I don't announce my contributions. You know that, NSSF, at all time. I don't announce. It's a question of principle that I abide with for years. Thank you.
Can we please celebrate and honor our chief launcher? Dr. Ajorie Awoshika. Thank you so much, ma. MFR, MNI. Now, she's opened up the floodgates, and I'm sure that for every single one of us who received a copy of the donation card, would ask you to please kindly complete. As Dr. Awoshika said, the responsibility is for every single Nigerian, young and old. And so we'd ask that you please be kind and generous as we continue to push the message of, through the NSSF, to a healthier Nigeria. We'll be coming back to take your pledges and donations. I would like to total it and just announce what we've, in the spirit of transparency and accountability. We'll do that tonight, and we'll ask that you just complete it. If you want to remain anonymous, you can indicate that so we wouldn't mention. But we'd like to just have an idea of the figures we've raised tonight. Whilst we're doing that, we thought a great way to help your thought process in deciding how much money to spend tonight is through the art of poetry. And so I'd ask for the second and final reading for tonight to read one of the poems in the book for tonight. Don't forget, if you do pledge, you pick up a copy of Writing Our Story, and not just for yourself. Please give others to buy for others to read as well. I'd like to invite a member of our panel of judges who wasn't here when we recognized them. He's an accomplished literary giant in Nigeria. Please let's make very welcome Mr. Sage Hassan.
Good evening. So when she said giants, I felt a bit odd, because she's a little giant, and I'm thinking, oh, come on. That's not fair. Come on, don't say that. So, I'm here, and I almost for a minute, I thought we were having a medical conference. And I said, you know what? I have a little bum knee. So I'm thinking maybe I should take advantage of the situation and say, what do you do when you run and then your knee starts to hurt and then you can't bend so well? What do I have to do? Do I have to pay for consultation, or am I going to get free consultation today by virtue? All right. So this is quite a worthy project, and thanks to Mrs. Coco Kalango, who read that stuff so well. At some point, I thought it was poetry. I said, man, I didn't know she could read that well. So written poetry, spoken word poetry is usually is a cocky adventure, is a cocky endeavor. The spoken word poet is reliant mostly on his ability to, to just speak and just say stuff in a nice way. But written poetry always poses a little challenge, especially for some of us. So reading written poetry, I'm not able to do it as well as Coco does. So I'm just going to make an effort and read the winning piece. The funny thing about it is that the winning story is the shortest of them all. I don't know why they picked me. I don't know, because anyway. So here we go. This poem is titled My Nigeria by Hadiza Abdul Karim. So this is the Nigeria we have always wanted. The one Zik and Awo dreamt of. The camera people, I think they're taking over the show. What shall I do? And then look at you or look at the people? Shall I perform the poem or shall I just do it for the camera? What shall I do it for? For you or? Oh, but you stopped me. Okay. Can I go on? Right? Okay. So My Nigeria by Hadiza Abdul Karim. This is the Nigeria we have always wanted. The one Zik and Awo dreamt of. The Nigeria where our leaders are guided right and basic health care is in a fight. The Nigeria where our doctors study medicine for the humanity in it, not as a ticket to Japa. Now, this is a Nigeria to be proud of. The green is for greener pasture, and the white, peace and good health. Nurses live up to their fictional expectations as angels and caregivers, not meanies in white. Health insurance, basic amenities, now this is my home. Who needs a police report when saving lives is the goal? A deposit? No love. Up here, every breath counts. We have paid our dues. An agile Nigeria is what we earn. If only COVID could see us now. We truly are a dream come true. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Sage Hassan, if only COVID can see us now. Thank you so much. I'd like to recognize the presence of the Zonal Director, National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Southwest Zone, here representing Dr. Faisal Shuaib, the Executive Director and CEO, NPHCDA, in the person of Dr. Ade Shokbe. A round of applause, please, for Dr. Ade Shokbe.
Good evening, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I'm representing my Executive Director, Dr. Faisal Shuaib, MON, the Chief Executive and of MPHCDA. He thought he was going to give a presentation, so he sent his presentation. So I will just read a part of it. According to him, enhancing accountability involves the whole society. It's not only the medical field that will take care of accountability in the health sector, especially at the primary health care level. And one, what are the strategies that we can use? One, we need to strengthen the healthcare leadership and promote participatory governance. This includes decentralizing the healthcare services, rationalizing the health bureaucracy, consolidating authorities and streamlining responsibilities. It involves devolving leadership responsibilities to healthcare managers rather than political office officials. It involves strengthening community participation in healthcare governance. I think that is what the Commissioner for Health, Ogun State, talked about. The community has to be involved. And it also involves establishing strong and enduring partnership with the private sector as part of the primary of the healthcare governance structure. Secondly, the second strategy is to strengthen the legal framework for enhancing accountability and transparency. What is the approach? Be intentional about enacting, enforcing, and reinforcing the focus on anti-corruption, transparency, and accountability in the national health policies, strategies, and plan. Integrate a focus of anti-corruption and transparency and accountability in the PHC system assessment. Another strategy is to reduce the health system corruption. This can be done by setting up and monitoring healthcare performance targets with focus on service delivery, outputs, and results of public agencies and programs. Another strategy is to improve the quality of care through enhanced performance. And this can be done by strengthening the healthcare workers' performance monitoring system also, consistently evaluate healthcare worker behavior and attitude towards patients, service delivery and data management. Leverage technology advances to strengthen health management, information system design to track relevant data at the PHC for accountability purposes. Then on the side, we should remember that there are primary health care. I'm talking from the primary health care level. We all have primary health care centers in our LGAs. When have we been there last? Are there doctors there? Are the facilities good? As youths, I'm talking to the youths now. They have the social media. They can flag whatever is going on there. As a government worker, if I flag it, it will be a problem. Because it's either I am for the government or I'm against the government. The parties will start problem. But as youths that are independent, once it is flagged, we can take it up. So we want them to start speaking, to start telling us what is going on in Igboora, what is going on in Ajangbadi. When we say we want to come and do monitoring from Abuja of wherever our offices are, the local government will get the place ready for us. Everything will be available. The doctors will be there, the nurses will be there, they will be in their uniform, drugs will be there. But if you, as a youth, just walks in and looks at what is going on and you flag it, we'll be able to take it up. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was so important to hear from the government perspective on this. Dr. Ade Shokbe, Zonal Director, NPHCDA Southwest Zone, representing the Executive Director and Chief Executive Officer. Our best regards to him. I'm sure he would have loved to be here tonight, but couldn't be. Well, we've come to the end of tonight's book launch, and I would like to thank everyone for your generous support. If you'd like to hand in your donation card, we have ushers around who would be more than happy to collect. We thank you very much. And beyond tonight, if you know anyone who would be interested in giving to this cause, we encourage you to please send them the donation details and let them support the great work that the NSSF is doing in the healthcare industry in Nigeria. And to give the formal vote of thanks for tonight, I'd like to welcome back to the podium Mr. Kola Owodunni, a member of the board. Now, Mr. Owodunni has come in all the way from Abuja. And so I think that NSSF wants to take as much from you tonight as possible before we let you go. Thank you so much.
I think I'm the last thing standing between everyone and some drinks, so I'll make it short. Thank you to our chief launcher. I think she's just left. Our fellow board members, panelists. That was actually a very, very enlightening panel. I learned a lot, and I'm sure a lot of people here also learned a lot. And thank you for reading the book. I found that very, very, you read it very well, and I'm looking forward to reading the rest of the book, so thank you very much. I'm intrigued as to the kind of entries you were able to, you had to review to see that down to 20 entries in the book, but I'm looking forward to reading that. Thank you everyone for coming today, and a big thank you to everyone that participated and submitted an entry, and to our winners, thank you for your hard work and you taking the time and thought to put pen to paper and submitting those very, very enjoyable entries. Thank you everyone for taking the time out today to be with us, and we look forward to Fidjo, I'm looking at you. We look forward to having more events like this in the future, number one, but also to NSSF itself making a significant impact on Nigeria. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. And as he said, we do not want to stop you any longer or stand in the way of you and some lovely refreshment. Just a few picture moments, but please we'll have some great music going on. You can step out to network and enjoy some refreshment. Don't forget to follow us on social media. Part of our advocacy tool, indeed a strong advocacy tool, is social media. So please follow us at NSSF_NG on social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all the social media platforms possible. Thank you so much. I'd like to invite the panel of judges to kindly come forward alongside our panelists who spoke earlier and board members present. We'd like to take a group picture before we leave. Please don't forget to give the ushers your donation cards. And if you paid for a copy of the book, please ensure you take one along with you. Thank you. May I please invite board members, panel of judges who are present here, and the panelists for a group photo. Can I please invite the GM of NSSF, Dr. Fejiro Chinyewoko, to join the pictures, please? Thank you. So board members, please. May I please invite the representative of the NPHCDA to also join, Dr. Ade Adeshok. Please, you can step on the stage. Mr. Sage Hassan, please could you kindly join the pictures? So we'll do one big picture and then we'll do it in groups. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. So can we please have just the board members present and the GM, please? But please don't go too far. We'll still call back for more pictures. Just board members and GM present. Thank you. Please, can you raise and the book? Thank you. Sorry, just board members and panelists, please. Can the panelists join them, please? Panelists, please. Can you please join them? Thank you. Yes, yes, please hold the book. Panelists, please join the board members. Thank you. Dr. Roberts. Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Sage Hassan, please don't go too far, after which we would like board members and panel of judges. Thank you. So, panelists and thank you. Can I please ask panel of judges to join the board members? Panel of judges present. Dr. Ade, please just hold on a second. I'd like you to take a picture with him. Mr. Sage Hassan. So if we have some refreshments outside, we ask that you kindly join us. So what do you please, can you stay in the middle? Because I think you're the only you. Oh, okay, you and Mr. Sage. Okay, there are two men now. No, but yes. Okay, is it central? Is it center? Yes, please hold it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. And then Dr. Ade with the board members from the public sector. Thank you. Thank you so much, Ralph. Can we have one with Mr. Owodun in the middle? Sorry, please. Because we have all female. Can we take a picture? Oh, no. With you included, yes. Yeah. It's just for him to. Thank you. I think we're good. Thank you very much. Can we have staff members? Staff members of NSSF, please. Do you want to take a picture with the GM? Staff members of NSSF, please, very quickly. Hi. Members of staff, Nigeria Solidarity. Oh, the winners. Board members, please. I need board members. Winners, please. Can you take a picture with the board members, please? Yes, and judges. We'll do one with the, yes, and judges, yes. So can we, sorry, Mr. Woduni, sorry, the winners who are present. Yes, please. So board members and winners. I'm so sorry. Yeah, winners. So we can just have, yes, in the middle, yes. After this one, then the next one, yes. Then the judges. Because it will be too wide for. So do you all have? Okay, brilliant. So can we have pictures? Thank you. Now can we have panel of judges? Thank you so much, board members. No, winners and panel of judges, please. Judges present. So we have Mrs. Kalango here and Mr. Hassan. Dr. Fedro, would need one with you as well to represent NSSF in this picture after them, yes. Thank you. Excellent. Dr. Fedro, please, can you join the picture? Thank you. One? Yeah. Not really. It's not balanced. Maybe stand in the middle, please. Yes. Thank you. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Now, all members of staff NSSF for a group picture. Can you get the books, please? Members of staff NSSF, please come forward for a group picture. Staff NSSF. Mrs. Dong. Okay, she's coming. Gerald, your attention is needed. Shout out to Arise News for covering. Yeah, but let me see. 1, 2, 3. Okay, yeah, we're good. Yeah, it's in the middle. So everyone say, writing our story. Okay, one more time. Writing our story. Wait, hold on. Okay, your book. Please make sure the book is upside, right side up, please. So yeah, thank you. Okay. All right, so let's go. 1, 2, 3. You're covering your face. You're covering your face. One more time. One more time. So on the count of 3, please write your story, but don't block somebody's face at the back or your own face. So, okay, now, you know what? Practice where your hand is going to reach when you are writing a story. So you can use your free hand to do it. Yeah, you can use your free hand, not your book hand, because the book covers faces, okay? Let's go. 1, 2, 3. You're blocking your face. I think we're good. Good evening, everyone. Someone's left their car keys. The person had, who's this? What's missing?
Campaign Tropicana. Me, I don't